There's a phrase in Singapore, you can afford the car, but you can't afford the parking spot. Now that's a bit of an exaggeration, but parking can be extremely expensive in big cities. Ask anybody who lives in the likes of New York, London, or in this case, San Francisco as well, which I believe is the most expensive city in the US, even higher than New York City on average. And a couple over there was recently fined $1,500 for parking not in a public spot illegally, their own driveway. Now, we have covered the controversial driveway parking laws in San Francisco and how they are, well, rather unpopular to say the very least. Who wants to pay to go on their own parking spot? It's ridiculous. But like I said, a couple has been fined $1,500 over there for this alleged offence. Let's have a look, guys, because, yeah, this is just absolutely enraging, to be honest with you. It's your property. Use it how you want to use it. That's just my take. I guess I'm a bit of a radical like that, aren't I? But let's have a look, guys. Parking in San Francisco is an absolute nightmare for locals and tourists alike. The streets themselves are often crowded and some have confusing rules about where you're allowed to park and not. Parking is so challenging at times in Frisco that in fact the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency has a section of its website devoted purely to parking legally in the city. If you go onto there, rules include a 72-hour parking limit in areas without any other restrictions such as residential parking permits, curbing your tyres on any hills, which is fair enough given how many big hills there are in San Francisco, and a restriction on the use of objects to claim an on-street parking space. Basically, don't go blocking a parking spot just to claim it as yours, when legally it's not. In March 2025, the city enacted a new law that prohibits parking within 20 feet of any intersection. I believe that's called the Daylight Law, when I've explained that in a separate video a little bit ago. And in fact, some neighbourhoods take it even further than that. They restrict parking to residents only, and non-residents may be fined for trying to get around the rules. And it makes sense, to be fair, given the fact that parking is very difficult around there and the local residents should have priority for spaces in their local area. But sometimes the local residents can fall afoul of these rules. In fact, in 2022, one couple who had lived in their home for 36 years received an astronomical ticket for parking in their own driveway. Luckily, though, that fine was eventually waived. Common sense eventually prevailed, but the fact that they were charged this in the first place is scandalous. And yes, that is the $1,500 ticket I was talking about. Specifically, it was a $1,542 parking ticket. But what was the reason for wanting to fine them this? Well, they found the fact that they were parking out the front of their house not the most attractive and went against the city's policies of what they call beautification. So they decided to give them an ugly fine as a result. Like I said, this was eventually waived when they complained about it. But the fact that the city had the cheek to even try this tells you all you need to know about that place. But it wasn't easy. As soon as they complained, the city actually fought back. And in fact, they had to prove that that space has been used for parking historically. If it hadn't been, then there was no chance of that happening. Eventually, they managed to find a photograph of the property from 1958, which proved that area had been used for parking historically. But it really shouldn't have been that hard. Imagine having to justify the parking space for your own house, your property, the thing that you own and have lived there for nearly 40 years in this case. Laughable. But like I said, California. That's all I need to say. You guys know what I'm talking about when it comes out. They very much do hate the motor car right now, for sure. But guys, let me know your thoughts in this in the comments below. What's the most ridiculous parking ticket you've ever seen? I want to hear what you have to say as always on this matter. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more of this. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world today, and we'll see you very soon.